Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
I don't think the Nets celebrated, but Minnesota, I understand it. I mean, those fans have waited for something to cheer for, and now you have a pretty good nucleus there. Did they go overboard? Yeah. But they haven't been in that situation before. Any of those players won anything before? And the answer is no. I don't even think in college they have.
Patrick Beverley's been there for like 5 months.
I know. But he's a former Clipper. How long has he been a former Clipper?
I get it.
That's a couple of years. And once again, he got kicked to the curb.
I mean, well, first of all, welcome to the show, Mackie and Judd. Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday to all who celebrate. We got our guy, Darren Doogie Wolfson, in the house here. He's battling illness. I'm battling warnings from Xfinity saying your internet's going to be screwed up today. So we're grinding this. We're grinding.
There it is, right on cue.
It started. As you said, the Xfinity gremlins jumped in there and took you out.
Phil, it's not that difficult. Pay your bill. If you just simply paid your bill, we wouldn't have these issues.
Yeah, Phil.
Yeah, man. I tried. Listen,
I
write. Maybe I should stop writing the actual checks. I don't know. The checkbook that's 20 years old that's been collecting dust. Okay, where did all these? No one cared about the Timberwolves for 17 years, and now all of a sudden, like, there's this celebration police force just roaming around saying, "You can be excited, but not that excited." Like, who cares? Where were all you people for 17 years? I don't get it, dudes.
I'm with you on that, Phil. Now, J.J. Redick, excellent podcaster, now former NBA player. I really enjoy his podcast. He is with you. He is with the local masses saying, enjoy it. It's the beauty of sports, right? Like, correct. And I was trying to figure out, when's the last time Anthony Edwards played in a big game? It definitely wasn't at Georgia. No. I mean, maybe back in his AAU days. Patrick Beverley, I get it. Like, the LA Clippers were trying to move him all summer. Finally, they got the Wolves to bite. Like, the Clippers were done with Bev. He knew all about that. So that game the other night had that much more meaning for Bev. It was one of, I don't think this is an exaggeration, one of the biggest wins for this franchise going back 18 years. Yes, game 82 against Denver, April of 18, is in that mix. Yes, the one playoff victory over Houston, April of 18, is in that mix. Then it's the other night. That is it, going all the way back to May of 2004, when the Wolves beat the Kings in the second round, then gave the Lakers all they could handle. The Wolves were down some guys in the Western Conference Finals. So yes, celebrate it, Wolves Nation. You have nothing to apologize for.
Here's what I don't get to, and I know it's a good talker. Like, it's a great talk. Was it too much? But what I don't get is this. After basically every clinch by a baseball team, they now go into their clubhouse and spray beer and champagne and put on goggles, okay? And I've been saying for a long time, you know, especially good teams, why don't you hold off? You like why are you doing this? The Wolves literally celebrated with their fans. Like, Pat Bev did not run off the floor, go in the locker room, pull out a bottle of champagne. He's like up on the scores table, throws his jersey, which is cool. And this is like where the magical line is drawn. Like, if you want the magical line drawn, I'll draw it. Don't celebrate with champagne after every baseball series win. But what the Wolves did, like, I don't understand crapping on a team that has enough guys who are conscious of the situation to celebrate with the fans. And Dukes, you were there, you saw it. Those fans deserve that. Like it's not like the Wolves all peeled off the court and they're like, this is going to be an internal celebration for us. They basically, especially Ant and Pat Bev, shared in their joy with a fan base that has been, you know, in fan hell for how long. So, like, this is a really weird one, in my opinion, to draw a line when we don't draw a line at a lot of stuff that makes a lot less sense.
Yeah, sing it, Judd. I mean, who am I to judge how somebody wants to react to a situation? Now, like D'Angelo Russell told Allie LaForce post-game, hey, this is where we are supposed to be. So D'Angelo's celebration was very much subdued. That's fine. But for Ant, for Pat, for the fan base, live it up. Judd, I've always said this is an incredibly passionate NBA market. I remember back in that '04 run, right? The block party in front of First Avenue, right there, in front of Target Center, in front of Glick's, whatever that is, 5th Street, 6th Street. I remember how lively downtown was, over that 5-6 year stretch, 99 to 04. Bellanote. Yes.
Michael Olowokandi just thumping in the corner. Michael Olowokandi was at Bellanote with like 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter half the game.
I'm forgetting there was a club too, like back end of the Warehouse District. Stoico used to go there, smoke some cigarettes.
Tropics?
Rasho Nesterovic used to go. No, not Tropics. No.
We're Tropics.
Yes, I do. I do. It had like the velvet.
Pacific
Declan,
Club?
can you help me? Judd, this is.
I mean, I was
you're not a
12. I
partying guy.
can't help you.
No, probably not.
Pacific
Phil?
Club? Hey, Doogie.
Yeah.
Pacific Club? Pacific
No.
Club then got
No.
replaced by another hotspot that Moon used to go to a ton when he played for the Vikings. That was right in that
Dream Girls?
No, not Dream Girls.
No, Dream Girl's still there.
Dream Girls.
Does
Dream
Deja
Girls is
Vu
still
still do the hot dog buffet, or did they have to cut that because of COVID losses?
Pretty sure it's still there.
I think Choice still has the hot dog buffet. Dream
Choice
Girls
is-
yanked it.
Choice is still there.
Yeah, Choice. I think is
Jukebox
still there,
Saturday
maybe.
night.
Yeah. So like in that vicinity, yeah, there was a club like back end of the Warehouse District. I'm guessing somebody can remind me. That's where a lot of the Wolves guys went. But yes, like look at the TV ratings. Like there's many ways to quantify Wolves' interest in this marketplace. I can tell you it's very high, especially right now. So live it up. And this is the matchup we all wanted, right? Like we all said, okay, if they end up as the 8 seed, maybe they steal a game from Phoenix, but that's more than likely a 4 or 5 game series. I think they have a legit chance to win this series against Memphis. I would probably bet on Memphis. I would make Memphis a slight favorite. But I think this series goes 6 or 7 games. This is a very good matchup for the Wolves, in my opinion.
All right, give us your download on the Cat situation. That was just, I mean, we've said pretty much everything that we're going to say on it in the last 2 days, but that was embarrassing. And they immediately go on this game-winning run after he fouls out. So what's your download as to what you saw?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to overreact to one game and say it's time to trade him. I mean, some of the instant emotional reaction right after the game the other night was, to me, laughable. But he was horrendously bad. And, like, for him to not think most of those 6 fouls were legit fouls or not legit fouls, like, he had an issue with most of them. Like, come on, Cat. Like, 5 of the 6 absolutely were fouls. We can debate maybe one of them. I had the first row on press, area seating. Judd was right behind me. At one point, Cat came over and hit the table right in front of me. A lot of expletives coming out of his mouth. It was D'Angelo Russell on the exercise bike about 3 feet from me that was calming him down. And D'Angelo Russell was excellent. Maybe not necessarily the first quarter the other night, but from quarters 2 on, he was great. And, he got his teammates involved in that first quarter. He had 4 or 5 assists. But credit to D'Lo for calming Cat down. But yeah, like those were all legit fouls. We knew that the Clippers were going to turn it into a wrestling match, muck it up. Look at the games that Cat played against the Clippers in November. That's exactly what they did. It's not like we were surprised at how LA was going to defend him. LA is a top 10 defensive team, so they know what the heck they are doing. So Cat has to do a better job of controlling his emotions. But I'm not going to overreact and say, like, this is now Ant's team, right? Or this is D'Lo's team. No, this is still Cat's team. Cat is the alpha, and Cat will have to be big if they are going to advance past Memphis.
If the Wolves, Dukes, can give the Grizz a extended, let's say they take this 6 or 7 games, what is the opportunity here too nationally for Ant to put his stamp on this game? Because it seems to me that we have certainly in this time become aware of how good Ant can be, but this feels like a real opportunity from a national standpoint for him to create some separation now between him being a good player and an up and coming player to almost an established type guy who the TNT crew glums onto and starts to talk about as, at the very least, a dynamic player in this league.
Well, yeah, I mean, those accolades oftentimes come with playoff success. Like I saw Bobby Marks, our mutual friend, put together a list the other day of the top players 25 or younger. And Anthony Edwards was pretty far down the list. I forget exactly where he was at.
I think he was 24, dude.
Desmond Bane of the Memphis Grizzlies, who's a good player, by the way. But Desmond Bane
above Ant
was above Ant.
Come on.
Yeah, I've been meaning to track down Bobby for some back and forth on that. Good-natured, of course. I love Bobby.
No.
Highly respect him.
No,
Bury
bury
his
him.
ass.
Bury
Bury his
him.
ass.
Bobby.
Take out the fire extinguisher. just-
End him.
Yeah,
Finish
end him.
Doogie. Finish him.
I'll finish him off. Yeah. Then maybe we'll go find that hot dog buffet at Choice afterwards. I'll reward him
Attaboy.
after. But, really? 24th on that list? Desmond Bane 7 spots ahead of Ant? So, yeah, Judd, to answer your inquiry, yes, this would be the time for Ant to fully establish himself. But let's not forget, post-game the other night, I think you were doing one of these with Declan and/or Phil, Judd, so you weren't in the press conference room, but it was Bev and it was Ann at the table. Bev has a tall boy Bud Light, taking some sips, enjoying it post-game. Ant couldn't even have a beer, right? He doesn't even turn 21 until August, right? So there is a long way to go for Ant to establish himself. He's well on his way to earning a max contract, that second contract with the Wolves. He'll get the full max, be here for a long time. But yes, on a national level, on a national scale, yes, this has a chance to be a coming out party these next 2 weeks.
Hey, we see, again, during that game, Alex Rodriguez tipping back some sort of clear cocktail throughout the game, maybe like a vodka soda, maybe a gin and tonic, I don't know, but he was enjoying himself. Marc Lore starting the shoes off, game's over trend. I mean, they've been fixtures courtside, and they'll run on the court after games. They're very positive and present, and the players seem to like those guys, even though they're minority owners right now. From what you've heard over the last few months, aside from just showing up at games and hanging out courtside and living the life of NBA minority owners, what sort of influence have they had on the organization this year, Doogie?
Well, I can tell you, very recently, they had a lot to do with the Chris Finch extension. That Chris Finch still had 1 full year plus a team option. It's not like the Wolves had to give Chris Finch an extension this week. He did not drive that bus. His agent did not drive that bus. It was, for the most part, it was very much Marc Lore, Alex Rodriguez driving that bus, then Glenn Taylor ultimately signing off on it. To me, a no-brainer extending Chris Finch for 3 years plus 1 extra year, team option, a mutual option on that 4th year, more a team option that 4th year. But that's one example. Bringing in Marquise Watts, from Clutch Sports, who has an influence here in town going back many, many years when he ran an AAU program. But he's got that relationship with Ant from Clutch. He's got a relationship with a lot of guys. He's been working internally on, player relations, somewhat fan relations, but more so player relations, just the experience of players, feedback he has gathered over some time. Well, Mark and Alex had a lot to do with Marquise Watts joining the organization in this high-level role. So those would be 2 very specific examples, just going back a few months.
Interesting. Back to Cat Dukes. In this series that they're about to play, do the Grizzlies have the same personnel and same ability to, just from a starting point, take away Cat like the Clippers did? Because I found it intriguing that we sort of knew what the Clippers were going to do in that game to Cat. They did it, and the Wolves couldn't really, somewhat surprisingly, they didn't respond. It was just like, oh my God, Cat's gone, and Cat gets mad, and then he gets fouls. Do the Grizzlies have the same personnel and the same abilities to do that, or is this going to be a different type of matchup, which is going to free Cat up a little bit more to not get frustrated from the moment the game begins?
Well, yes and no. Jaren Jackson Jr. is an all-defensive type player. In fact, I'd put him on the first team, all defense, but if he's second team, that's fine. So I think we'll see Jaren Jackson Jr. on Cat, but we could also see Steve Adams on Cat. Going back years when Steve Adams was in Oklahoma City, Cat has talked about how tough a matchup Steve Adams has been for him. But I expect to see more so Jaren Jackson on Cat, Steve Adams on Jared Vanderbilt. To me, the X factor for Memphis is they now have Dylan Brooks back. He did not play in any of the 4 matchups against the Wolves in the regular season. The two teams split 2-2. Dillon Brooks is Memphis' best perimeter defender. So for him to be now available, that makes Memphis' defense that much better. But I think the Wolves are going to get some looks. Like the way Memphis plays its defense, its drop defense, the Wolves should get some good 3-point opportunities. I think the Wolves will be able to score against Memphis. The question is, can they keep Memphis off the offensive glass? Memphis is a really good offensive rebounding team. The Wolves are not a good defensive rebounding team. How many second chance opportunities do the Grizzlies get? That to me is a big factor. But I think Cat will be able to get some looks, just with Jaren Jackson Jr. guarding him. But Jaren Jackson Jr. is a really good defensive player.
Yeah.
And so you're going to see Jackson Jr. on Cat a good amount. So I think it's more incumbent on, Cat, D'Lo, those perimeter guys making their shots. I don't expect to see Cat go for 30 and 15 multiple games. I mean, think back to 18. Think back to that Rocket series. Go back and look at the box scores. Cat, game 1, game 2, game 3. Didn't really do a whole lot. Little bit in game 3. Had one good game among the 5, if I'm not mistaken. But he was pretty much a non-factor in multiple games in that Rocket series. Like, I'm not suggesting he's going to be a non-factor, but like if the Wolves are going to win multiple games, Judd, I don't think it's going to be Cat carrying them in this series. I think it's going to be more so Ann and D'Lo.
Well, it's and we'll get into some of the. I'm going to go meat and potatoes with these guys in the next segment here of Mackie and Judd today. But just because you've dove into this a little bit, what I'm so curious about, the Clippers absolutely flustered Cat in that game, and really like in their 4 matchups that Cat played. Like Cat only averaged like 13 or 14 points in the 4 games he played this season. Go that blueprint and run a double team. Am I frozen again? God dang it!
You're coming in and out.
Well, you were until you said, "Am I frozen?" God dang it!
Oh my gosh! Listen, I start spewing takes, and the gremlin just cut me off. So I'll get to the point quick here. The Clippers ran a double team at him the entire night and flustered him and got him 4 fouls in the first half. I think Memphis feels like they can guard him straight up with Jaren Jackson Jr. and or Steven Adams, but I would actually take that if I'm the Timberwolves. Like, I would rather have the tougher individual defender but have Cat go one-on-one and maybe even, clear out and create some space than have to, he's not Kevin Garnett 15 years ago where he welcomes the double. He gets flustered by it. So I'd rather Memphis put a defender on him and take my chances that way. What do you think?
Completely agree. Yeah, I don't think we'll see a whole lot of double teaming, here and there. But, yeah, I can see Jaren Jackson Jr. playing Cat straight up. So he should be able to get some looks in the post, turn right, turn left, get some opportunities that way. And, if he wants to pull up in transition, take some threes early in the shot clock, I'm fine with that too. We know Memphis wants to play really fast. I mean, I think they were number 1 in pace during the regular season. If not 1, certainly top 3 in pace. So Memphis wants to play really, really fast. But playing really fast, that should also give the Wolves some chances to also play fast. So if Cat wants to pull up and get some shots that way, I'm cool with that.
Doogie, just looking at the money line here on Bovada, which I've already hammered on the Wolves. Right now, the Grizzlies are minus 290, but the Wolves are plus 240 on the money line per Bovada, and the over-under set at 234.5, with the spread at 7-point favorites for the Grizzlies to take game 1.
Wow. Well, I would take the Wolves and the 7 points on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Memphis should be the favorite.
Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, Memphis was the number 2 team in the NBA in the regular season. Outside of Phoenix, it was Memphis. Memphis was better than any team in the Eastern Conference. Memphis is really, really good. I've mentioned what their record was when Ja Morant missed games this year. Ja Morant missed 22 or 23 games. Memphis won 20 games without Ja Morant. That tells you how deep they are. That starting 5 of Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Dillon Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr., Steve Adams is really good. But they also haven't played a whole lot together this year. They did play together the other night in New Orleans, or against New Orleans, and played really, really well. I think they scored 141 points. But then they bring some of those guys off the bench like Melton, like Tyus Jones, Apple Valley's own, who's going to get paid this summer. I think some team gives him the full mid-level, maybe at 4 years. Like, I think Tyus should get a nice contract this summer. Brandon Clark, who the Wolves thought had too short of arms. That's why they didn't want him in the draft a couple years ago. He's had some really good games against the Wolves this year. Kyle Anderson is capable, hasn't had a great year. So, I mean, they have 4 or 5 guys off their bench that they can legitimately play. Like, they are really good, and I don't think most people realize the step forward that Bane has taken. Like, Desmond Bane is legit. Like, you can argue Memphis has a legit big three, Jaren Jackson Jr., Ja Morant, then Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane is off the charts good.
So, Dukes, to go on to the Twins, what should the concern be about the move that was made? I think it was a bit of a surprise to those of us outside the organization yesterday. Alex Kirilloff back on the 10-day IL, and it sounds like that same wrist that he had surgery on is bugging him. And more importantly, it sounds like he told reporters post-game, yeah, it really hasn't stopped hurting when I try and swing since I came back. This does not sound like a good place to be this time of year. What can you tell us about Kirilloff's wrist injury?
Yeah, I mean, it's been recurring, right? I mean, this is not the first wrist injury. Here is the update from this morning, Jed. I'm reading it verbatim via text message. Alex is visiting with Dr. Graham today in Dayton, Ohio. We have to wait and see what the doctor says. Alex has a very uncommon wrist injury. It flared up again the last 2 weeks of spring training. He's been playing hurt this whole time. Alex says it's like having a sprained ankle. You know, every time you step on that ankle, pain is coming. So that's what's been happening when he's been swinging. So definitely big time concern, Alex Kirilloff with the wrist.
God, that's long-term concern. That's not like the next 30 days concern. That's long-term concern, right?
Well, I mean, it sidelined him how long last year, right? I mean, yes, there is definite concern, but let's see what the doctor in Ohio says today, before, sounding the alarm too much. But yeah, we definitely need to talk about it. And, just watching, just the eye test, watching Alex Kirilloff's at-bats early here, he just doesn't look himself. Like, I think I said a year or two ago, I'll write that down, at some point in Alex Kirilloff's career, he's going to win a batting title. Right? Because I love that swing so much. The swing I've seen through those Mariners and Dodgers games when he played, more so the Mariners games, that's not the Alex Kirilloff swing I know.
Yeah. All right, rapid fire scoops. What else? What other Twins things? What else you got for us?
Well, Boye Mafe, Hopkins High School, Gopher football player, visited the Seattle Seahawks this week. As far as I know, I think that's the first known documented visit for Mafe. I'm positive he's had some others or will have some others, but that's the first one that I can share publicly. Matt Waletzko is a good-looking draft prospect from Cold Spring, went to Rocori High School, maybe more so a day 3 pick. Offensive lineman from North Dakota, had a really good pro day. He visited the Broncos last week. Dawson Garcia, former McDonald's All-American, Prior Lake High School, had a really good freshman year at Marquette. Then went to the NBA pre-draft camp in Chicago. Actually played okay against some really good competition, but decided to go back to college, enters into the portal. Marquette has the coaching change. He ends up at North Carolina. He turns down Arizona. He turns down Illinois. He turned down Ben Johnson. And he went to North Carolina. Played half a year at North Carolina. Had some decent moments, including had a good game against Purdue. But then his dad gets COVID. His grandma ends up passing, had a very close relationship with his grandma. At one point, grandma lived with Dawson. And Dawson left the program halfway through the year and never came back. So North Carolina ends up playing for the national championship. Dawson was gone. He wasn't there. He is now in the transfer portal. The Gophers have a very, very good chance here. They are already in hot pursuit. So he entered into the portal officially on Wednesday. Within, minutes, really not an exaggeration, within minutes, the Gophers were in touch. You think about the NCAA transfer rules, right? The one-time free transfer. So he ends up in North Carolina. That's the free transfer. Now he would have to apply for a hardship waiver. Well, I would say him coming home based on his family situation, what he's been dealing with, where does he have a good chance to get that immediate waiver to play right away? The Minnesota Gopher. So I'm just saying, keep an eye on Dawson Garcia, former McDonald's All-American, one of the best players right now in the transfer portal. Keep an eye on that situation. But certainly, Ben Johnson and the Gophers are in big-time pursuit.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Thank you, Doogie.
Yeah,
great
good
stuff, man.
Dukes. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on. Inside information.
Then don't forget about the Drake London Pro Day tomorrow, USC wide receiver.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
6'5". Yeah, that dude's interesting.
I've been telling Judd Phil, they are going, the Vikings, they are going to take a wide receiver at some point draft weekend. It's when, not if.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, it's something to keep an eye on in the first round. Maybe more so Garrett Wilson. I heard that they really like Garrett Wilson, the Ohio State kid. I just don't think he'll be there at 12. I think he goes to Atlanta in front of the Vikings. But I wonder about Drake London, only 20 years old. So you think about a really good player with a ton of upside, 20 years old. Just keep an eye on that pro day tomorrow with Drake London.
Yeah, it's on one hand, they need defense, and their defense is aging. On the other hand, you have an offensive-minded coach that comes from the Rams and Sean McVay ecosystem. He's going to want more offensive toys to play with, right? So people writing off wide receiver, 1998, they didn't need a wide receiver either, right? Then they drafted Randy Moss.
Big mistake. Big mistake.
Don't forget in free
Didn't work
agency,
out.
most of free agency was about helping that defense. Why not in the draft early help the offensive-minded head coach?
Yeah. Doogie, inside information about your favorite local sports teams. You can find him as part of the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Team and the Scoop podcast. Grinding it out today. Under the weather. We'll talk soon, man.
I did. You know what? On that front, this was very much my Jordan game. All three of us have worked together for multiple years. Heck, Phil, you and I go back, 2 decades?
Almost 20 years, yeah.
Judd, you and I, at least on air, go back at least a decade. I have overcome a lot. I've persevered many times. But yes, here we go for the YouTube audience.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, that's a positive COVID test.
Oh my God, you're pregnant.
Grinding, dude.
Oh my God, Doogie, congratulations.
So this is my Jordan game. I just got through an entire podcast. I feel actually fine, no fever.
job.
But yeah, I'm in isolation for a few days. 5
All right.
days.
Take
Yeah.
care
All
of
right, well,
yourself.
go
Be
take
well,
a
man.
rest, get
Plenty of
better.
fluids. Bye.
That's our guy, Darren.
All right, see you,
Doogie
boys.
Wilson.
Bye-bye.
I don't think Federated can help him with that positive COVID test, but if you're a business owner out there and your business falls into one of the industries that Federated specializes in, you're going to want to make a phone call or go to the website, federatedinsurance.com, and find out how they can elevate your business and help you with risk management. Federatedinsurance.com, and remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours.